And I'm back with more Tales of Arise. We made it to the Owl Forest. And this will be kind of a side questy thing, collect-a-thon for items and stuff. As far as the quest goes, we are here in the Nevira Snowplains. We've got a lot of things on this Nevira Snowplains to do, but we also need to just get to Cysloden.
So the guys we saw back in Messia were Snake Eyes, and your group fighting them is...
The Silver Swords. Heck, we even have members working within the Snake Eyes gathering intel for us.
Sounds like it involves a lot of double crossing.
It does, but it keeps us alive and one step ahead. Calaglia wouldn't have been liberated without those double agents.
So, we saw an area like this before, so we'll get to fishing with, I say, the sixth and final character. We'll get to that when that happens. But yeah, any fishing spot, you can collect fish, you can do another mini game kind of thing. I mean, it's fishing. It's a nice little pastime. I forget if it's as good as Final Fantasy, well, it's not as good as Breath of Fire 3, which is what I consider my gold standard. Hey, Alphen, you want to keep learning anything else while I'm here?
You are in tip-top shape.
How could a girl ever say no? These little ones are hardly worth our time.
Less talking, more pummeling.
Cut them apart to your heart's content.
Well, looky here.
So yeah, this might take a little bit of time to do this.
Little help! There!
This one's all mine.
Here's enough flame!
Not today.
Hope this works! I'm ready! They're surrounding
These little ones are hardly worth our time.
Less talking, more
Hey, I learned a skill too.
To your heart. Your power
Yay.
is a spectacle to behold.
Easy peasy. Ha hoodle.
Alright, so Alphen's learning a thing. And Gemini Alpha, what's for color? Healing artists. Okay. Ailments. Okay, cool.
Wait, there are way too many snake eyes up ahead.
Okay, so yeah, definitely don't go that way. You want to go up here. But you see all of this. We're going to want to do all of that. Let's see here. Let's see, Dungeon Rant. Ah,
This will be a delicious
here's
piece of
something.
cake. I'm only getting started. I never fit. Dance in the wind.
Tails combat.
Field.
Tails has been through quite a bit of change, as any franchise would if they've been around for 25 years.
Then why bother fighting them?
Because I certainly won't run away from a battle.
And Tails started as a kind of line-based combat. Tales of Fantasia, Tales of Destiny, Tales of Eternia, anything until, I'd say, Tales of Symphonia, where they went into 3D. And there might have been a game before that here. My interest in Tales has peaked mostly recently, so bear that in mind. I've played or experienced most of the games, though, via stuff like YouTube, or I've played them here and there, but I wasn't really huge in them.
Say no more.
Item Scholar, okay. So that's for Rinwell. Okay, cool.
You sure showed them.
Up. Rinwell. Hey, Rinwell.
What are you doing here? If the snake eyes spot you here, they'll...
So you did make it back alive.
Man, am I glad to see you safe.
Well, so much for my dungeon
Barely.
rant.
When we all got separated, I thought...
They're fine. They all got back in one piece. Well, Azugul took a bite out of 2 of our guys, but what matters is you're safe. So, you gonna introduce me?
Meet Alphen and Shion. I brought them with me from Calaglia.
You mean you made it to Calaglia? Wait, this is it? Just the 2 of them? Where's the rest?
Well, it's kind of a long story. It's best if I fill everyone in at once.
Your call, Rinwell. But everyone will be dying to know. We better get back as soon as we can. Use this passage whenever you need to go in or out of the city. Stay away from the front gate, whatever you do.
Okay. But yes, Tales began where it was a 2D plane, much like any other old school Final Fantasy game. But instead of looking at the enemies from the side or whatever, you would all like be in a weird like 4-person line and stuff, which is neat. It was very chaotic, and you had your magic spells and whatever, and flying enemies were kind of at the top of the screen, and they would jump down and do all that stuff, and it was pretty neat. Something else Tales would do,
Not bad.
which I was a little not fond of,
This is what we were asked to get, wasn't it?
was keeping that line combat in a 3D plane. It's not always the case, and there's been some confusion on my end whenever I ask people. But Tales of Abyss, well, not Tales of Graces because it was more full-on 3D, but
Whoa! Quit staring and concentrate on the fight.
I don't take orders from you.
Alphen, this ends now.
Consider yourself finished.
but the way that they would act, they would try to take the 2D plane and keep it in a grid, like a straight line
It could be worth
format.
something.
So it would always feel like I was trying to go in 3D, like a Kingdom Hearts game or whatever, or say this, but the game wasn't always receptive to that.
Dispose of the trash.
Again, it's not always the case, and I'm kind of simplifying it just to talk. But you can see where I'm coming from. Some games would say, okay, stay in a line to do damage in a line, and then do the thing much like you would in Fantasia, but in a 3D setting. And there was kind of a weird disconnect sometimes. Compare it to something like this, where I have full 3D movement. As you can see, I'm dodging and whatever, and this is the most recent game, so bear that in mind. Something in the 2000s that has been around for 4 or 5 years is going to be different than something that's following off of tons of games, right?
Let the marksman handle this.
But I'd say Tales of Graces was the first time I felt like, oh, okay, I have full range of what I'm supposed to do. Graces kind of didn't work for me just because the characters were bare bones, I guess. Not really
Seems about right to me.
edgy. How would I describe it? I've said before that Tales of Berseria was the first one that I was really grabbed by. And I've said before that I'm more of a character-driven or role-play-driven person. The combat is the combat, and as long as it's serviceable and doesn't drive me nuts, I'm usually not plussed by it, and I don't really give too much a shit. You have a character like Velvet, who early on in the game deals with tragedy and just basically murders things. The whole tagline I remember is, when have we ever been nice? Right? It's insane. This game focuses on a, racism, classism bullshit, and they're angry all the time, and, Shion and
Hey, that looks
Alphen
pretty good.
aren't always the nicest of people. I mean, Alphen tries, but Shion sure as fuck doesn't. But she's very tsundere, or tsundere, however you want to say it. Okay, so there's an owl here somewhere. But again, you can see where if the combat feels a little stiff to me, and the characters aren't completely 100%, you know, Velvet Murder happy, you know. And again, not every character has to be Velvet Murder happy. Not everybody has to be tsundere like Shion. But they have a story that I'm gripped by, and the gameplay is making sense to me. So I've been more grabbed by Berseria and Arise than I was with some of the more dated games like Abyss or Vesperia or Symphonia. And it's not to say that people who like those games are wrong, it's that I was never a Tales fan to that nth degree like I could have been, just because fighting enemies in a line when I'm in a 3D plane never felt right. Or the animations in those games kind of felt a little off to me. Much like, say, Star Ocean does. And I don't want this to be a Star Ocean versus Tales situation, because Star Ocean sucks compared to these games. It just does. Because Star Ocean started as a ripoff, and only rarely scratches the surface of being somewhat good. And yes, I did try to play Divine Force, and the text, I can't read the fucking text in that game, so I'm not going to play it. But Star Ocean has many, many other problems. But you can see where I'm kind of getting at, where like the animations are a little weird, the characters a little weird, or they're nondescript, and I'm not really wholly invested like I would be for a, say, Final Fantasy game, because I grew up playing Final Fantasy, so, you know, Tales was not something that completely grabbed me the times I tried to get into it. This and Berseria were those times that I've been wholly on board. Because I played Fantasia and liked it well enough, but every other time it felt kind of stiff. This isn't like an... contrast that to something like Ys, right? Where Ys was always an action-based game. A Zelda-type game. Doesn't take a lot for me to, like, go there, kill a guy, do a thing, kill a guy, boom, boom, boom. There's no kind of, alright, it's stuck, it's gooey, it's stiff. Because that's the thing that happens sometimes with these games, and even more recent games. If a game has weird animations and animation timers,
I gave it everything I had.
the game will feel like it's stuck in goo. That's something that happens in action games, it happens in combo-heavy games. You don't want that. If you're trying to be an action economy game and you're trying to do a game like this, or say Final Fantasy VII Remake, imagine if Final Fantasy VII Remake was stiff as a board, and every time you had like a half second or a second time delay trying to do an animation, it would not work. That's what it felt like playing early Tales games, because it always felt like either I was restricted in my plane of movement, not all the time, Grace's was not one of those, or the characters were not to the standard that this game was, where it was like instantly, boom, I am wholly engaged in this story because it's very simple, it's very dark, it's kind of intense. As I've said, intensity is a thing. I missed an L somewhere. I'll go back and check if I need to. I need to kill these guys. Let's do that. So again, that's where I'm coming from as a player. I'm not saying Tales isn't a good franchise. Far from it. I wouldn't be playing it otherwise. What I'm saying is, I think everybody has to start somewhere, and I started Final Fantasy early. I started Kingdom Hearts early. Though, again, Kingdom Hearts is its own issues, right? But if you say, like, you like Pokemon, you like Ys, you like Tales of... Like, you like Legend of Zelda, you like Persona, you like if you like a game like Spider-Man, totally different genre, but yeah, if you like Spider-Man games, like fuck yeah, PS4 games or PS5 games, cool, I like that, and there we go. Everybody likes a different game for different reasons, for different
I feel like
situations,
I'm about to freeze.
right? And I think it's
Looks like we've spotted
always
one of Poodle's
smart.
friends.
It's always smart to tell people, okay, how do I describe that I kind of like this game or I don't like this game? The important thing isn't that you don't like or dislike a game. It's that you tell people in no uncertain terms and you stick by those, but you give discussions. There's a difference between a discussion of a game and just saying, nah, this game sucks balls, I don't like it, it's dumb, and it's like, whatever. Because I saw a streamer yesterday, I was watching a randomizer of Super Mario RPG, and admittedly, I love Super Mario RPG. It's not perfect, but it's a nice, lovely game that is on everybody's gotta play list, right? Then, like, we're watching a randomizer of it. So imagine playing a Super Mario RPG game for years and then going and playing a randomizer version of it and then saying, okay, I'm going to search out this game that I kind of don't like just to tell the streamer that I kind of don't like it and I've never really liked it and I don't think it's fun. Like, why would you do that? I gotta find the way back up. I could just do that. And I'll just take me back here. That's fine. Whatever. But you can see my point. Why would you go through the trouble of searching out a game that you're kind of about just to tell somebody who does like it, you know what, that game you like is kind of junk. I don't like it. You're going into you're searching a stream. Instead of, okay, I might like this game. Let me see if I like the streamer or the Let's Player, because that's searching up, you know, I tend to be very forward in my thought process. I know what games I like, I know what games I don't like, but I'm not going to say, no, you shouldn't like a game because it's dumb. Like, if you like Final Fantasy XII, that's fine. It's totally not the game I want Final Fantasy to be, so I'm gonna shit on it all the time. But say if I do a podcast, and it's part of the reasons I do the podcast too, because I don't ever want to come off as a curmudgeon. I do sometimes. Unavoidable, yes, because I'm a Final Fantasy purist. I wish it would have stayed in that Final Fantasy 4 to 10 bubble for the rest of time and done in that. But it's not that type of game anymore. I respect that. I mean, Tales shouldn't have stayed this type of game. I wish Castlevania had always stayed the Portrait of Ruin and Symphony of the Night and stuff like that. That's why Bloodstained works. But that's because I'm old. My point is, if you like something, you like something. If you don't like something, you don't like something. But what comes across,
certainly won't run away from a battle.
it comes across in how you explain your point.
Go no further.
I've made it a point that if I'm going to discuss a thing that I like, well, sometimes I'm going to be very straightforward and not say anything, just to make a post and whatever, you know, say on Reddit. But you do at least want to have a grounding in why you like a certain game, or why you'd want somebody else to play it. But you also don't want to take it personally if they themselves as a person are just not into a thing. Because I'm not. We're not the same people.
I can feel my precision improving.
But it's important to always tell people why. To balance out your point and not come off as a fucking troll and not come off as a dick. Especially if this is your first interaction with people. That's the hardest part. Because if your
How do the
interaction...
Lions not know about this secret route of yours?
Cysloden's an old city. It's
So yes, if it, say your interactions with people, say if this was the first episode somebody ever came across and they heard me talking about Tales, and they would instantly assume that just because I don't like the early Tales games or the mid-era games that I'd hate the franchise. That is not the point. It's that they didn't grab me for this reason, this reason, this reason. Analytical discussion and constructive criticism. When Lee and I were playing the Final Fantasy games, we have different things on what we do. I'm not going to say to her, you should like the same games I like. Fuck no. I'm appreciative of the fact that she's sitting there wanting to play these games with me because she provides a different perspective. And she knows that I'm totally doing this really off the cuff and super fucking fast.
Pathways that people have long forgotten. But keep your voice down. We don't know how long this route will stay hidden.
Yeah, lots of games are different, and I think there's a common ground. Everybody can kind of have a common ground and say, okay, I'm not as big onto this game, but I'll give you my reasons why. Is if you give your reasons why, it gives you a leg to stand on, and it's not about winning an argument. It's not about doing a thing. It's about saying, all right, if I was to show this to somebody who's never played this before, do I want to come off as a super nerdy, oh my god, I love this, and everybody should love it? No, that's what I do with Persona. This is not Persona. If you want me to geek out and basically tell you that everything is great and nothing's wrong and this is perfect, watch the Persona game, right? But somebody not knowing Persona would come into it and think, oh god, this is a bit slow. I'm not really into that. I don't really follow the anime stuff, the visual novel stuff. I like it, but not like you do. I might watch somebody else, or I might watch a different game, but that's cool because this is a different feel from a Persona game. This is a different feel from a Final Fantasy game. This is different from a Secret of Mana game. As long as you show people your best side and try to show people the best side that you can of your experience of said game,
Do you sense one of your friends, Hoodle?
then that's important. Because I think if I'm not showing off
So this is
Tales of Arise in the best light, then somebody else could. But don't go searching out games just to antagonize people.
Be
I
careful.
think that's the
You
worst
never know where
part.
Snake Eyes or their informants are lurking. We're
'Cause-
basically walking into a Zoogl's den here.
Because I'm not the most easy person to talk to. I had totally admit it. I'm not I'm not a talker outside of the streamer or a content creator thing outside of Twitch or YouTube or whatever. Unless I'm talking about something I absolutely like, I'm not like a go-getter. But at the same time, I also realize that everybody is looking for a different experience. So what can I do and say, all right, I don't like Tales the way everybody else does, but I can see why people would have liked those early games. But I like these two instead. That's like saying, okay, I like Final Fantasy VI because of this reason. I like Final Fantasy X because of this reason. I didn't like Final Fantasy XII because of this. That is a different feel. Because that is important. It is important to always discuss with people, all right, I'm not really feeling this, but here's why. Apologies if it... Nope. Thought I heard Hoodle. I would not... I'm gonna bet the owl is, like, lurking in one of the stalls. But yeah, that was a discussion point so that I could get through that dungeon anyway. Here we're here in Cysloden. It's very... Alright, where the
There are
fuck?
shops here?
On a permit basis. As long as people don't get reported on and sent to work the floodlights, economic activity is allowed here.
All this talk about reports and permits. This place really is different from Calaglia.
Fuck. Oh, damn it. There it is. Nice. But yes, we've made it into Cysloden, and I think the important thing
Looks like we
about this
spotted
game
one of Poodle's friends.
is that it's divided into 5 sections, and then the end game stuff. So, I'm a bigger fan of the first 5 sections than the end of the game, but that's... it is what it is. Alright. I think it would be smart, actually, rather than searching Cysloden now, I'm gonna call it an episode. That might be the smart play. Skill panel. Nah. Alright. That would be for colors. So yes, sport. I'm still probably going to focus on the elemental damage more so. But yeah, hopefully that discussion was a nice little dungeon rant. Kind of free form because I was trying to figure out shit to do while we're doing the Nevira Snowplains, but we're in Cysloden, yay! Yes, we're gonna get in shit because it's Cysloden. So anyway, we'll get to that next time.